always been a pleasure watching you on screen, and of course in the first season of Special Op as well. So a special of 1.5 with the Himmat Singh Story, right? So how does it feel to have an entire series, dedicated to yourself?
I think Himmat Singh should feel good about that. I enjoyed playing him. That's all I can say, and it was a great experience. Yes.
So, from what we gather, I presume this is a prequel. For a director, it's kind of challenging to go back in time. How tough is it for the actor to go back?
It's not really tough. It's very interesting. It's just that the actor needs to tap on the youthful spirit that he has and try and portray that. And that's it. That's about it. And also keep the intelligence intact, because the audiences should be able to extrapolate this and come to a conclusion. Yes, this person can become the Himmat Singh that I have seen. So you can't be completely diverse to it. So at the same time, you keep it within that framework and keep the impulsiveness, keep the youthfulness about it, and that's about it. Yeah, it was enjoyable. Yes.
So, but did you? I mean, playing your younger self, you have to then work on it.
No, I was just playing myself,
And after being part of the series, you make you're the new entrant here, and but essentially the series is about the Himmat Singh. So I mean, like, how does that feel, and what exactly is your role going to be?
Okay, so I'll answer the second question first, because that's the easier one. I can't say much about my role, so I'll just put an end to that, because it's supposed to be a story about raw agents. So I mean, you can't really elaborate much on that. But yeah, for me, to be part of the show is an incredible feeling, because like everyone else, I binged it last year in 2020, and I absolutely became a fan of the show. Little did I know that I'm going to be part of one of my favorite shows, and of course, Himmat Singh became like a household name. Everybody just absolutely adored Himmat Singh's character and his patriotism and everything that Kay brought to the table to play him. So then, yeah, when I got an opportunity to be part of the show, I just I was overexcited. I was so happy to be part of this journey, and I'm just grateful to be part of it. I can't say much about what I'm doing in the show, because that is a little classified at this point. But on the 12th of November, I think everything will be pretty much out there for everyone to see. But yeah, personally speaking, I think it's a great feeling to be part of this show.
But you have been part of some wonderful comedies. But how do you see this OTT's obsession for thrillers?
I think OTTs just follow the pattern of what people want to watch. Thrillers are something that people obviously like to watch, and I mean, I know there are a lot of thrillers at the moment on OTT, and perhaps that's the most popular genre on various streaming platforms. But the thing with OTT is that it gives you the time and space to elaborate and to stretch upon the characters, to play more on the characters. But what film doesn't do? What you can encapsulate in 2 hours in a film, with the OTT you get the opportunity to encapsulate over 8 or 10 hours. So you can actually stretch things out. So that kind of enhances it as well. So I mean, it does have its pros and cons, but I mean, no one can argue when the audience wants to watch thrillers. I mean, I'm sure the platforms would know that, okay, this is the one that's working. These kind of subjects are working, so might as well let's please our audiences.
And Mr. Menon, you have been part of some. We've seen you in stellar roles, whether it is Heather and more recently in that Ray anthology. You were so good. But how do you see this Himmat Singh character in your filmography?
I think by far this is my most popular work, and I would leave it at that. The merit, etc., is for people, for everybody else to see and judge and analyze and all that stuff. But yes, it's been by far my most popular work, because of which this current generation also, who did not know people like us, have been reintroduced to what we are, and they have kind of gone back and seen our work in retrospective. So it's done a lot of good for actors. Yeah.
So whether it's family man or it is special ops, suddenly we're seeing these intelligence agents, as very relatable, human, slightly flawed kind of characters. To what do you owe this change?
I guess it's the medium, more the medium, because the button today is in the hands of the audience. So, and he or she has a choice to either flip and go ahead or wait and see. So, being the case, it's more of a level playing field, and OTT is more of individual viewing. It's like personal viewing. So, and every person, when he's individual in nature, is slightly more, how do I put it? Perhaps more intelligent, more, I don't know, more deeper than being frivolous about it when he's in the mass. Mass psychology is different. It's like a party psychology, which we call in Hindi the thing psychology. It's like when a mass is there, when you go to the theaters, for example, there's a huge mass, and the mass psychology works, which is why when a so-called hero turns in slow motion, you have whistles and dances and all that stuff. So that's a mass cycle. It's a party syndrome where everybody is bobbing their head to music which they don't understand at all. But even then, they don't know that everybody else is dancing. Whereas individually, when I'm viewing it, it's like normal reading. It's like it's much more an individual space, and there the gravity is a bit more in that individual when he's watching. And for actors and for performances and for content, which is quite rich in nature, it's a wonderful medium. And also the length of it, for example. It's the kind of a middle path between cinema and the endless television serials. So it's a middle path. So therein lies the whole crux of why certain things work and certain things don't in any medium.
So would you say it is the age of actors now? With, I mean, as against stars, whether it was the family man, special ops, now more recently Tubber, it's the actors who are driving this medium.
As I said, it's about the medium, because the medium has a certain gravity as far as the audience is concerned, and the content becomes a hero. And if you perform well, it's a jewel in the crown. So that's all there is to it. On a big screen, it's a different psychology which works. So you need to. That's the only basic difference. And I believe that there'll be a peaceful coexistence between OTT platforms and cinemas henceforth. So that's how it will be. At the same time, it reduces the frustration of people like us, because sometimes what happens is that be it Manoj, me, Irfan, anybody for that matter, whatever we used to do earlier were at the altar of a release and how it's going to be released, which is also a whole different ball game with distributors, exhibitors, production houses coming into the fray. The number of theaters are limited. So more often than not, we kind of get the raw end of the deal, because if a film is not released well, it won't be seen any which way, and then obviously the film won't work. So with OTT, it kind of changed that equation. So today we have no issues about saying that, oh yeah, many films it didn't get a proper release, so obviously it won't work. But today it's kind of a level playing field on OTT. Everybody gets the same opportunity, and merit will kind of survive.
So is it kind of liberating? The medium is liberating in that sense.
Yeah, but though I don't really bother much about end results, etc., etc. But since you asked me to analyze it as a pundit, as a cinema thing, I've analyzed it for you. But personally, I don't keep all this stuff in my mind when I'm performing. So all I do is that that moment is very important for me. That those days, 40, 50 days that I spend on a set or otherwise working for the film is far more important to me than the end result, because those 40 days are 40 days of my life gone. So I need to really be involved, make it interesting, things like that. So that is more important to me. Once it's done and dusted, then that film or that series has been given birth to, and that will have its own destiny. Now I can't keep hanging on to the destiny. So I'm very dispassionately passionate in that sense. I'm very passionate while working, and once the work is over, I'm completely dispassionate.
So what kind of a director is Neeraj Pandey? Mr. Menon, you worked with him in Baby as well.
Oh, there are, I mean, Neeraj, Shivam and me go way long back. Maybe something that the audience know now, but even during television days, so it's that back.
Okay.
So we kind of understand each other without even speaking to each other. So that's a kind of understanding. One word, a slight gesture is enough to communicate. So that helps in our equation while working, on a scene. So that vision becomes very clear immediately. So that helps. I mean, and number two is that his writing is so solid, Neeraj's writing, that half your battle is won there only, because the screenplay is so taut, so excitingly done, that the actor's life becomes much easier. For me, that's why it's a pleasure working with Neeraj and Shivam, because they are so much already is done for the actor. The actor just needs to fill in afterwards whatever is left. And seldomly you come across that for 27 years of whatever career that we have come across number of directors. We have come across different breeds of directors. So each one has their own charm. So here in Neeraj's case, the actor's job becomes very easy, according to me, because everything more or less is done for him in terms of the screenplay, the drama, everything is there. The lines are so precise that you don't even think of changing a word. You don't do that in his screenplay and his dialogues. It's so bad that that it's a lot of work has gone into just writing that one line, and where it comes in the screenplay. So that kind of precision is there, and then it helps the actor.
Absolutely.
And prequels, I mean, generally people want to know what happens afterwards. Do you think prequels are a tougher ball game?
I don't know what's tough or not. I think if it's interestingly done, then everything is interesting.
Yeah.
If it's very uninterestingly done, then it's obviously boring. So it's nothing to do with prequel, sequel, or whatever quel that is. It's just that what you do has to be interesting. As long as that is there, then you can make whatever you want to make.
And after it has been mounted on a very lavish scale, did it feel like another Bollywood film only?
I think the mount of it has been true to what the plot is and the story is. Every story will have a mount of its own, depending on what story is being told. So because it's a spy thriller by nature, of course, you will have a fair bit of action, have a lot of thrill, a lot of stunts, and a lot of expanse, as they call it, in terms of locations and scale, like you put it. So that was the pre-requirement of telling a story like this. It does, because raw agents are all over the world. So I mean, you require a certain expanse, you require a certain exposure to different countries, because they not only work in India, they work all over the world. So of course, the story itself also is based in not only in India. So yeah, it does require that scale, and whatever is required will be done. So I didn't really compare it to a film, because when you work on, at least when I work on a project, it's just project to project. I don't view it as a film or whether as a show. I view it purely as a project, and like you rightly put it, I mean, today's a day and age of actors as well. So this medium is also very different. So one has to adapt in a way as well. But I mean, those thoughts really don't cross your mind that is it a film or is it a show? It's just what is required is actually what's done.
And the series, marries fact with fiction. So do you think that as actors also, of course, as makers, people feel responsible, but as actors also, do you feel a sense of responsibility? Because in India, people are offended now at the slightest cause.
No, I seriously, unfortunately in India, what happens is that there is all kinds of education, but there is no cinema education. There's hardly any cinema education. I think it should be inculcated right from primary school. How to view cinema, what does cinema entail, what are the various dimensions of cinema. So once you have an idea of all that, then most of the nonsense goes for us. It kind of stops. Unfortunately, what happens is that it becomes very convenient, to kind of pick holes or whatever. So I think cinema education is very important in our country. I think we should have at least one subject on cinema education, on world cinema, Indian cinema, everything. regional cinemas, such rich regional cinema we have. So everything put together. Once you have that education, then most of this nonsense will go away.
Mr. Menon, in one of your interviews, you said that nothing is changing, everything remains the same. So do you think but we are on the cusp of a change, or we have already changed in terms
I don't
of...
know. See, the thing about change is that it has to be consistent. Otherwise, you can't call it a change. It doesn't mean that one day if it's cloudy, you say, hey, today the sun didn't rise. That doesn't happen, right? If it's consistently changing and keeping true to that change, then only then, and that too for 10 long years or 15 long years, that's when you say, okay, fine, now there's been epoch-making change has happened. You can't be knee-jerk and be impulsive and saying, oh, 1 year it changed, so it changed. It doesn't happen. The change has to be consistent. As long as there's consistency in change, then you can accept the change. Till then, you have to say that it's not changed.
And what do you promise your viewers?
We promise, as usual, all the sincerity, the honesty of what we do. We try and put across brilliant storytelling, which is Neeraj Pandey and Shivam's forte. So we have, as actors, we have tried our best to give you a believable feeling of what we are doing on screen. And since you have seen Special Ops 1, we, at least from our end, can guarantee you that Special Ops 1.5 will be more than 1.5 times more, better.
And we will see more of Aftab now, hopefully. Yes.
I hope so.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.